Getting better at web design and delivering great work for clients is a lot easier when you realize there are only 6 web design styles out there. That's it. If you're like me, you've looked at some really great websites before and thought, man, that is so good. I could never build something like that. In fact, I think I might actually suck. It's real, y'all. But when you start seeing the patterns of these 6 styles, it starts to become a lot easier to recreate them yourself. So in this video, I'm breaking down all 6 and showing you how to use them on a client's projects. And I've chosen a famous person to represent each style to make them easier to remember and to make it a little more fun. Hopefully. The first one is called the Steve Jobs. And trust me, you already know this one, even if you've never put a name to it. Apple perfected this style on their own site. And sites that use this tend to use like skinny sans serifs, a spacing and type that follows an obvious system. So everything on the page feels organized without feeling too stiff. It's the kind of site that when you scroll it, you kind of wish your life looked and felt like it. No? Is that just me? The telltale sign of this being a good idea for your project is if a client says, I just want something clean. This is exactly what they mean. They strike this really cool balance between systems and rules and then feeling like cutting edge. And I think it's because of the same reason that those spaceship doors in movies feel like really advanced, right? The ones with no knobs or handles, you just have to think open and it opens. Removing stuff is what makes it feel like the future. And if you're working on a website with this kind of style, the main thing is you can't be afraid of white space. Just because a section doesn't have a lot going on doesn't mean it's not well designed. There's this great quote from a French writer whose name I am not going to try to pronounce, but he said this: "Perfection is achieved not when there's nothing more to add, but when there's nothing left to take away." Genius. Wish I would have said that. But some projects call for an even more buttoned up version of the Steve Jobs. They want to be a bit more precise and calculated. I call this next style the Jensen Huang. Jensen is the CEO of NVIDIA, which if you've been watching the news, you know is a pretty big deal. And while everyone's trying to build the next greatest AI product, he's over here just kind of quietly banking off their massive need for the chips that power the AI. But here's the thing about Jensen. He's clean cut. He's put together in every single interview that I've ever seen him in. And he always wears this leather jacket, which if it's not the same one every time, it might as well be. And why is that? Well, he doesn't have time to think about outfit variations. He's trying to change the world with tech. And that's exactly what our next web design style is trying to communicate. I'm sure that you've seen these websites before. They're almost always some kind of SaaS company, and typically, but not always, they're AI. Their main goal is to try and get new investors. So they want to communicate a no-fuss stability who mean business. Like take this Melrose AI website. There's no section that goes full width across the screen from all the way left to all the way right. Everything is buttoned up. Think of it like taking the Steve Jobs style and making it even more precise. But that doesn't mean there's no style. Even Jensen himself wears a leather jacket. He could wear any kind of jacket, even a poorly fitted blazer, like much of his counterparts wear. He wants to be seen as having a little bit of coolness. That's just not his main thing. This style's for clients that are more concerned about looking put together than standing out. They want to communicate that they're building the future of technology over being the best looking brand. If you've got a project that calls for this, you've got to prioritize function over form. Keep things in a really clear grid. Be careful about any loud or distracting design choices. Everything should pull attention back to the product, not take away. You're not trying to be cool. You're trying to be the next big tech breakthrough. Okay, we're 2 styles in, and already you might be thinking, that's all great, Chris, but can I actually implement those design styles on the websites that I'm working on? What about working with clients who fight me on every decision? Fair, because being a good web designer isn't just about being able to do the design. It's also about guiding a client through a process to make sure that the outcome is great every single time. And that's why I built the high profit process. It's everything that I've learned in the last 11 years of building a web design business. Not just how to find and win clients, but how to take them through a process where the outcome is something that you'd actually be proud to show your friends. If you want to be the first to know when it's available, make sure to sign up for the waitlist. The link is in the first line of the description. All right, so if the Jensen Huang style feels on mission and calculated, the next style is all about being warm and inviting. I call it the Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore has become everyone's girl next door, the friend that you call when you want to vent to someone who's not going to be judgy about it. And sites with this style have almost a candid feel to them. Like you walked in on a private moment and they were like, no, it's all right, come in. In fact, I'm glad that you're here. The design doesn't take itself too seriously. There's nothing super bold, and there's even a noticeable bounce to things with the animations that they use. Like check out this fruitful site. The person in the explainer video is filming it from her apartment. And this dude's got a hat and a t-shirt on, and this is for an automated system for managing your money. And look, even when I click anywhere on the site, these little leaves animate out of it. It's just a perfect picture of the Drew Barrymore. And this is for clients who want to communicate that they want to feel approachable, like they're down to earth. That's got Drew Barrymore written all over it. The main thing that you need to pull this off is good photography, the kind that kind of splits the difference between highly produced and highly authentic. But I know, after having worked with a lot of clients throughout the years, that they don't always bring the best imagery. The good news is you can subsidize that by doing things like rounding out the corners of your cards or your images, or even going with a color palette that has warm tones and a real natural feel to it. And if Drew is the friend who feels like a warm blanket, the next style is the friend we run to make sure our outfit doesn't look like something our grandpa would wear. They're the cool friend, and I call this the Zendaya. Zendaya is iconic, right? She's always 2 steps ahead of the trends, if not creating them entirely. She's comfortable with attention, but doesn't have to try too hard to get it. In fact, she sometimes feels like she's not trying hard at all on purpose. You'll see sites like this in all kinds of industries, but they kind of carry a high fashion editorial type feel. The imagery, if there is any, has a cinematic cologne commercial kind of feel to it. And the design is typically ultra minimal with layouts that don't necessarily follow common principles. Like, we know you gotta bounce your eyes to read different paragraphs, but hey, we're too busy being cool to worry about it. And sure, it works for a lot of fashion brands, but it could be for lots of other kinds of businesses as well. Like check out this still agency website. The entire homepage is this video that looks like an ad for Paris Fashion Week. Pretty cool and fits this style perfectly, because that's kind of the point. Clients who need this communicate their value by showing people their taste, not necessarily by saying, if you hire us, you'll get XYZ in return. What you get is understood innately from who they are. And if you're working on a project that needs this style, you're gonna have to get really familiar with Swiss design and editorial design. So modular layouts are your go-to move, and some of the normal design principles kind of have to take a back seat. So don't be afraid to scale back the font size or try a layout that's a bit unconventional. And if Zendaya pulls you in with her coolness, the next style pulls you in with a visual element that you can't stop thinking about. I'm calling this style the Virgil Abloh. You might not know Virgil offhand, but you have definitely seen his work. He's the founder of the streetwear company Off-White and has done album covers for all kinds of artists, including folks like Kanye. His style isn't about minimalism or maximalism, which honestly both kind of show up depending on the project, but that's not the point. It's about being something that you can't ignore one way or another. And websites that pull on this style want to do exactly that. They want you to see an element and say, that's sick. And then kind of wish that you would have thought of that first. It doesn't necessarily have to be an image either. It can be a font that really stands out, or a color palette with really high contrast. Or yes, some kind of imagery that the moment that you look at it, you know it took skill and talent to create. Like check out the Obsidian Assembly website. The moment that it loads, your eyes are instantly pulled to this unique font that's a bit bigger. And this 3D looking shiny rock, right? And it gets better as you scroll. Each interaction was designed to pull your attention towards the visuals. And if this is the direction that you're going with on a project, don't feel like you gotta have multiple stunning visuals every single section, or even every single page. Heck, every single website. There's a way to do this that isn't tacky or distracting. And most of the time, that means picking one cool visual element and just kind of repeating it throughout the site tastefully. Maybe it's a super big, unique font that works more like a design element than it does text that you gotta read. Or maybe it's a small 3D object that stands out. The point is contrast, not bigness. You want people's attention to be drawn to it because it stands out, not because it's screaming at you. And if the Virgil style wants you to keep thinking about its visual elements, the next style wants to completely blow your mind. I'm calling it the Christopher Nolan. Nolan is the director of movies like Inception, Interstellar, Batman, Dark Knight, to name a few. And every single one of his films feels less like a movie and more like a roller coaster ride. You can usually tell within the first 3 seconds that you're on a Nolan style site. Something moves, something morphs, the hero scrolls in a way that you've never quite seen before. These sites aren't trying to be clean. They're not trying to be cool. They're trying to impress you, and they're not subtle about it. They've got some kind of interaction almost every inch of the website. Like, check out this active theory site. The moment that it loads, the type's doing something weird, and you scroll, and the sections don't just sit there. They react with you as you're scrolling. And by the time you hit the bottom of the page, you kind of just wish you could have watched over the shoulder of the developer or the designer that was making it. And this is for the clients who say, I want a wow factor. I literally just had a potential client email requesting exactly that. Harrison, if you're watching, hey. And if this is the kind of style that you want to get good at, it's gonna take some time. These are skills that have multiple layers, from design to UX, some really serious coding chops. And because of all those requirements, it typically takes a team to build it. That doesn't mean that a one-person show can't pull it off. You just kind of have to be patient and steadily keep adding skills. And the good news is there's some great tools out there that will get you there quicker, like Unicorn Studio or Spline, which I've talked about in other videos. Those will help any level of designer punch way above their weight. But trust me when I say that being able to build impressive sites alone is not enough to build a 6-figure web design business, because there's a whole other side to this. Finding clients who'll pay what your work is actually worth, onboarding without it turning into a mess, a project management system to keep things from dragging on forever and ever. That's exactly what I'm putting into the high profit process. It's 10+ years of how I actually run my web design business, all into one system. Not just videos either. There's SOPs, there's email templates that I send to clients, there's systems, literally everything that I use all in one place. So get on the wait list so you don't miss when it becomes available. The link's in the first line of the description. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe. And don't forget, if you don't quit, you win.